Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Evin Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirayet Nashtaprayesho Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from chapter 5 from the first canto. The chapter is still Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. This is verse 26. Tatrānvahaṁ kṛṣṇa-kathāḥ pragāyatām. Someone can be a chorus.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please share.
Okay. Is this visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Tatrānvahaṁ kṛṣṇa-kathāḥ pragāyatām.
tatrānvahaṁ kṛṣṇa-kathāḥ pragāyatām.
anugraheṇāśṛṇavaṁ manoharāḥ.
anugraheṇāśṛṇavaṁ manoharāḥ.
तथा śraddhayā me nupadaṁ viśṛṇvataḥ.
śraddhayā me nupadaṁ viśṛṇvataḥ.
priyaśravasy priyaśravasi aṅga abhavat ruciḥ.
priyaśravasy aṅga mamābhavad ruciḥ.
Thank you, Mataji. Word to word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace Abhicharnaravinda A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. With the consciousness of the time, I'll try to directly go to the translation. Thank you. O Vyāsadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantis, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And thus, listening attentively, my taste for hearing the personality of Godhead increased at every step. Purport. It's a short one. I'll try to. Lord Kṛṣṇa, the absolute personality of Godhead, is attractive not only in his personal features, but also in his transcendental activities. It's also because absolute is absolute by name, form, fame, form, pastimes, entourage, paraphernalia, etc. The Lord descends on this material world out of his causeless mercy and displays the various transcendental pastimes as human being, so that human beings get attracted to him, become able to go back to Godhead. Men are naturally apt to hearing his stories and narrations of various personalities performing mundane activities without knowing that by such association one simply wastes valuable time and also becomes addicted to three qualities of mundane nature. Instead of wasting time, one can get spiritual success by turning his attention to transcendental pastimes of the Lord. By hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Lord, one contacts directly the personality of Godhead. And as I explained before, by hearing about the personality of Godhead from within, all accumulated sins of mundane creature are cleared. Thus, being cleared of all the sins, the hearer gradually becomes liberated from mundane association and becomes attracted to the features of the Lord. Narada Muni has just explained this by his personal experience. The whole idea is that simply by hearing about Lord's pastime, one can become one of the associates of the Lord. Narada Muni has eternal life, unlimited knowledge, and unfathomed bliss. He can travel all over the material and spiritual worlds without restriction. One can attain the highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right sources, as Sri Narada Muni heard from the pure devotees, Bhakti Vedantas, in his previous life. The process of hearing is in the association of devotees is especially recommended in this age of aural, which is Kali. Let's now we'll just seek my prayers before sharing a few lines from this particular chapter. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjalashalakaya Chakshurunvitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadamathyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Dev Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavana Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Krupa Sindhubhya Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Pati Prabhu tatrānvahaṁ kṛṣṇa-kathāḥ pragāyatām anugraheṇāśṛṇavaṁ manoharāḥ aśṛaddhayā nupadaṁ śrīṣraddhayā priyaśravasy mamābhavad ruciḥ. Hare Krishna. Just have a small PPT. Let me try and share that. Is it visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So before getting into today's verse, just as always, a small recap. What was Narada Muni doing? Narada Muni had revealed that he was a son of a maid-servant, and suddenly, for Vyāsadeva, it was from Guru to a low birth, insignificant parent. All this is what he was hearing. Now, then Narada Muni also, what he had opportunities, though being a son of a maid-servant, what was she doing? She was assisting or serving the pure devotees of Krishna. So what did Narada Muni do? Narada Muni also got opportunity. We came to know from the few verses that he got opportunity to directly serve them. So whom? All the exalted Bhakti Vedantis, but under the instructions of his mother. Now, Narada Muni was also hearing from them. Remember, he got blessings from them. Then he also said, though very young boy, normally boys are naughty, he said he was not naughty. He was disciplined. He had sense control. Remember, he said Alpa Bhashini. He had already got sense control. Now, from the last verse, which was a very nice verse this was shared, all the points were shared by His Mathurapati Prabhu. What was the one which is standing out? That Narada Muni got Uchishta Lepa. What was it? He got Prasadam. Now, just a few lines. Prabhujis and Matajis, please note when you say Prasadam, it is not ordinary food. Okay. Generally, if you see all of us in the beginning, our concept of Prasadam before coming into ISKCON is 1 cup of sundal or 1 curd rice, which you get in Puliogare, which you get in all these temples, right? So it will be so small that by the time you walk out of the temple, you have to put it in the dump and come out. But when you come to ISKCON, you get this thing which you see down, khichdi. And the beauty is, after you get that, I was standing there, that person asked, obviously I wanted another one. He was asking, do you want one more? And I thought, okay, he's been very merciful today. But after that, if you stand there, he asks one more, they're not stopping. And now whoever attends our Sunday feast knows that it is a full plate or you're satisfied. Now, the last verse revealed that Narada Muni not just had Prasadam, he had Mahaprasadam, right? You all know what is Maha, and we also sometimes get Maha, which means somebody which is Prasadam, which is already tasted by the Lord, offered to exalted devotees, and by their mercy, sometimes they definitely share these to other devotees. And if devotee is taken and from that plate you become maha prasadam. So that way, Prabhu had, Mathurapati Prabhu had nicely said, remember three things he said. Three mahapal. What was the three thing? One was what we are talking of prasad. Anyone recollects? What are the other two? Prabhu, it was last week. How you expect us to remember? Okay, that's one of the point. So what happened?
Padadhuli.
Yes, it was dust. What is the other one? Quickly. Okay, it was the water washed from a devotee. So Padadhuli, these are the three mahapal. Wash dust of the feet of the devotee and the remnants of the food. Anyway, so what it can do to us? What it can do, if a person is diseased, right? If a person is infected with malaria, same potency. If you eat from his plate, what will happen? Very sure you are going to get that, right? It has got the same potency. If you eat from the plate of, the remnants of the devotee, the same disease will come. What is the disease which a devotee has got? He's got this wonderful disease called Krishna Prema, desirable love for Krishna. That is very high chances that you're going to develop that. That's why Srila Prabhupada in the initial stage used to call it Krishna Kitchen Revolution. When he went to US, he made those wonderful kachoris, samosas, such aromas were coming. They had not seen something like this. Who can forget that big jar he used to keep it in the center? Anytime you come in, ISKCON bullets, jamuns, you could pop it in. And anytime those people were feeling, I'm going to go out, I don't want to be, I leave all this and go, they will take this. As soon as the jamun goes in, the juices go in, they'll say, no, I'll stay a few more days for this jamun. And then obviously the association of devotees, we used to make them not continue. Okay, here Narada Muni was a small boy, like any other small boy wanted to eat, but with their permission, he used to eat a lot of remnants. They say, right, the Hindi saying, Jaisa Anna Vaisa Man. Varaha Prabhu can correct me if it is wrong. So that had a high effect on. Why? Because what we are eating is touched by Krishna, right? It is touched. Krishna need not actually touch it with saliva. You know that all the indriyas from them for Krishna, the Supreme Lord, if the glances itself, it is prasadam. So high chances that we also will get the potency, right? So what was Narada Muni doing? Was he only eating prasadam morning, afternoon, evening? Yes, that is true. But besides that, he was doing something else. What? He was hearing, right? Now, that's why Srila Prabhupada said many times that devotees don't want to see Krishna. We want to hear Krishna. So devotees often pray that Srimad Bhagavatam is the only friend. He's our only spiritual master. He's our only hope. In fact, it says we all have to bow down to Srimad Bhagavatam. Please never leave me, right? There is again a reference of what happens when you hear about Krishna. I just see whether it is still there. And yes, so you can probably see this verse. There is a reference in śraddhayā swa katha Kṛṣṇa punyashravana kirtanaha. Then hridayantastohi abhadrani vidnoti shru asatatam. Sri Krishna.
Are you sharing the text?
Prabhu?
Are you sharing the text? Screen is blank.
Okay, it's not sharing, is it? Yes, Prabhu. I was trying to, I'll again share it. Now, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. śraddhayā swa katha Kṛṣṇa punyashravana kirtana. What is happening? See the translation, it says, this has come already in the first canto, second chapter itself. Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who's Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of a devotee who has developed the urge to realize messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted, right? So back to the slide. So Narada Muni, what was he doing? He had already started hearing. Apart from eating prasadam, he started hearing, and hearing how? With faith. So when you hear all this with faith and in the association of devotees, you naturally increase the attraction for Krishna. You start getting the ruchi. You want to hear more. Okay. So when you, but there's a warning. If you hear without faith, don't expect the same thing. As like many devotees cannot even enjoy this tasty prasadam because they don't have the faith that this is prasadam. The same, even if you hear from the most advanced devotee, you will not be enjoying it. You will not be having the bliss. So faith is an important aspect. If it's like, say for example, for a blind man, if you come and keep something in front, he can't see. For somebody who can't hear, if you say something also, you cannot. The same way, if this person doesn't have that faith, no matter best prasadam you give, you tell him beautiful class, very jovial class, we would have been enjoying Sundar Nityan Prabhu's coming. Those people will come out as though they just came out of a movie without any effect. So very, very important to add and develop that faith, right? So now what Narada Muni is telling in this particular verse, he started telling, and in this many verses, he started explaining his personal experience. What it is? Process of hearing attentively. He's telling that I heard attentively from those people and I developed ruchi, and this ruchi only increased. Okay, just a few other points. Now, it is true that we need to hear. Okay, everybody knows that we need to hear. We are also hearing Prabhuji from many days. Somehow I'm not able to retain anything which I heard. Okay, what is the process? What is the process of effective hearing or attentive hearing, what we call? First, Prabhupada here mentions in this line, towards the last paragraph, one can attain highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right sources. One small tag is there, one small caveat. What is the right sources? We seem to be repeating this in almost all the classes. All the devotees by now know it. Hear from bona fide devotees, hear from bona fide parampara, hear from pure devotees. Why? Because scriptures say, Prabhupada always quotes this saying, hearing from dawn devotees is like drinking the milk from which is touched by serpents. Does anyone want poisonous milk? Everybody will say, please give us pure milk. Right? The same way, Hari Katha can have effect. Of course, it can have effect anyway, but from non-devotees, it's dangerous. Hari Katha is supposed to purify our hearts. How faster process is only when you hear it from devotees. Otherwise, there's a small danger. I heard in a class that we lose even the small little interest we have about this enthusiasm towards hearing. Okay, why? Because in general, if you see generally Bharatavarsha, okay, everyone wants to hear the stories of Rama and Krishna. All of us are in general pious. But what happened? Effectively, we have heard from other sources. What even recently there was a beautiful short WhatsApp message from Srila Prabhupada telling his devotees, yes, we have not disconnected our culture. It's just because the other culture has come in. What is that culture? Westerners. They realize that these people's unity and they're wonderful, rich and not the GDP. We have all the scriptures. How to break it? Break the system, break their entire scriptural systems. That's how they effectively started conquering us, because they broke that and they shared they dumped all their practices. That when we started hearing them, we lost even that little bit. Having born in the Bharatavarsha, Bharatakanda, even we lost that little habit. So please note, Prabhuji, you will say, oh, anyway, he's talking about Krishna. He is also talking about Maya. He's also talking. But who is he? Whether he's got a guru, whether his guru's got a guru. Very, very important. Hearing from right sources is very important. And what does it do? How do we do it? Right? We know what it does, right? It removes all the, just now we heard, it removes all clears all the sins. Now, what is the result? It clears all the sins. Accumulated sins will be cleared. Anartha nivarti will start happening. But Prabhuji, how to do this? I keep forgetting. Now, I had heard Srivas Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu telling very, very early days. Even you, when one of the questions I asked, I'm traveling, I have a lot of travel, can we hear? He said, no problem. But he said one important point. It's good to hear while cooking for Matajis, while doing other activities. But post that, there should be a notebook, there should be a pen, and try to write down all this. What is the 4 or 5 points did we hear from this entire 30-minute, 40-minute, 1 hour lecture? What did we hear? Make it a habit or make some points. He used to say, I also heard that, but as soon as I reach office, I used to make 4 or 5 points. It struck me in that way. In fact, we added, he also said, or even share it. So that is even better. You call a devotee, anyway, you have to speak to a devotee. Otherwise, danger of hearing from others, right? They will dump what they want to talk about, movie or what happened in the Ukraine war. They've been fighting every day, bomb, nothing new. Different bombs are there. But you talk to a devotee and then say, you know, even if he's not interested, if he's in a hurry, just I want to share these 4 or 5 points which I heard today. What happens the moment you share, it gets into your RAM. Okay, then after that, next time you want to write, anyway, these 4 are there. It's just that next 4 we have to write. So at least we'll get 6, 7 good points, maybe 3 good points in the entire lecture, which you can make a change and which will help another person. Actually, by sharing, it helps another person. He said, thank you. I just couldn't read the whole day. Thank you, Prabhuji, that I got these 2, 3 points. Okay, especially if you hear from pure devotees. You heard of Dinabandhu Prabhu hearing Vrindavan pastime. Oh my God, so beautiful. They all got so deep into how Krishna was calling how they were making friends, what kind of noises they made to get each other. As though, you know, we were there in that, and Dinabandhu Prabhu has just now come from Golok Vrindavan. Like that they take you. Sarvabhauma Prabhu. I mean, the list goes on. We can hear from these exalted devotees. And then obviously we'll develop that attraction to Krishna. We will increase the faith. We'll get all that ruciḥ. Everything will happen. We don't have to do anything else. Just hearing, attentive hearing is important. And as the second picture suggests, sharing is also another beautiful aspect of this. Okay. So last slide. What happens by doing all this? There is 3 P's of going back home. Prabhupada writes, right? Human attracted to be able to go back home, to go back home. Actually, how many of us are really, I heard this lecture, I think some Prabhupada writes somewhere a couple of verses back. How many of us are having that desire to go back home? Very few have want to go back home, back to Godhead. If suddenly comes and asks, are you ready to go? Prabhuji, 1 more floor I have to finish, last work, pending work, only wedding. We'll have a list of other things. We'll think, after this, I am ready. But many of us are not ready. But anyone who desires, look at how Krishna is so merciful. He'll help us in all the respects. By hearing glories of the Lord, gradually we start realizing what is our real position. Servant of the God. By His grace, then a devotee gets sufficient strength. Please note, whenever we say, we're praying or Lord is giving you, don't think He's going to remove the problem. He'll sometimes that. If it is a part of your karmic action, we have to go through. But what is happening? Huge support, sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances. And gradually, all the disturbing elements will be eliminated from the mind. And last but not the least, now, that's why Prabhupada is so beautiful, right? He knows the current problems. He says, currently, the process of hearing is recommended is association of devotees. What are we doing? Every morning we are coming. Today also I saw 30 odd people in the morning at Mangalarati. So by associating and then hearing, reading, that is when it will have all the complete effect of it. So what are the 3 P's? Is 1, we know that it was Prasadam, which had an effective fast process. We know the process of hearing and the person. Who is a person? We're talking of Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to hear kṛṣṇa-kathāḥ, pastimes, anything which are we bored by hearing? Every year we go through the story of Vyāsadeva chasing. How wonderful it is. Every time I hear that, a devotee of the Lord, how beautiful, how merciful they are. They always find new ways of explaining that. I'm always intrigued by hearing how the milk was boiling out and the milk wanted to commit suicide. How beautiful thinking, how creative thinking. I'm no longer any use for Krishna because he's going to eat mother's Yashoda milk. How he was feeling, how the flowers were feeling that I'm no longer, qualified to be on the head. I'd rather be at the lotus feet. How beautiful each devotee thinks. Keep hearing this and purify us. And why? Because it's clearing all our sins. See, look at that. By just hearing, he's removing all the sins, clearing everything, making our accounts clean so that we can go back home, back to Godhead. So these were a few points which I got it, Prabhuji. If I have missed anything, please include, and thank you again for this opportunity. If anyone has got, I'm sure there is no doubts in this today's, but if it is still, we'll be happy to clear that. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.